Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about ideas. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, I work on many ideas every day. I've journaled over 450 ideas in the open on GitHub. I like thinking about all of my ideas, but how do I commit to a single idea and bearing in mind opportunity cost? How do I strengthen my ideas? Well, so the way that I usually do this is that I try to figure out where do I need to get in order to see if the thing floats. So the times that I've been working on business ideas, so like with startups and so forth, I've always set the same criteria for anybody who wants to work with me in terms of like we're going to ship a product or anything like that. And that is the first step is I need my stakeholders to prove that they are invested in the solution. If they're not invested, I'm not going to lift a finger to do anything, because then ends with what it always ends with, which is basically that they lose steam and because they have an idea, but they don't really want to invest the amount of time, energy, money, etc., to see the thing actually happen. All they really want is a developer to build something for them so that they can fuck around, get excited about stuff. But when push comes to shove, they're actually not. They're going to lose interest fairly soon. Take it from me, guys. I've been here a few times now where it's sort of like asking your friends to come to the gym with you. Unless they are themselves asking to go to the gym, it's going to end with them giving up, stop coming. It's just a matter of time, because they are not invested. They're just coming because you are making it easy on them. And in this scenario, if you're a software developer and you invest your time and energy and effort into this thing, and you're dependent on somebody else to help you out, you have to make sure that that person is invested. Otherwise, it's no point. So that's the first thing. Like, if you have a lot of ideas, try to see if you can find to get that to a point where people are actually going to say, this seems like a good idea, number one. And that's usually artboards or whatever. If it's a commercial product, etc., you need to create a proof of concept out of the door so that someone can sort of play around with the thing. And once you've gotten to that point where you see that there is some interest in the thing, now you have to basically ask the hard question, which is, what is my definition of done here for the first version? Because there is no system, guys, contrary to popular belief, systems like Facebook, etc., like these big systems that you might know about, that are that made the creators super rich. These systems are not built over a day. And social media platforms are, as an example, notoriously difficult to scale or to actually get any traction on, because the value that comes from that platform is usually only once you have people. So now you have to think about marketing. You need to have to think about how are you going to actually get people onto the thing, etc., These are very complicated matters. So before you get all excited about all the things that are going to happen when you're a millionaire, or like when everything is amazing, right? You have to think about what is the first definition of done for version 1.0, where this thing is going to bring value. If you don't lock that down, you are going to spend your time running around on every idea you have. I promise you. You're just going to swirl around with ideas and inspirations, etc., but you're never actually going to ship anything, because you start 100 things and you never finish anything. So in order to get to that point, you have to sort of ask yourself, what experience, what is the minimum amount of value that I have to provide for this thing to be useful? And the key thing here is, and I usually urge people to make sure that they have a customer for this. If you're going to run a commercial product, if you're going to make money from something, or the intention is to make money, you have to figure out what is the minimum amount I have to produce in order for someone to pay anything. Because as soon as you get to paid anything, like whatever it might be the silliest, simplest thing in the world, now you have proof of value. Because otherwise you're just guessing. And I have spent my time, guys, working on everything from like social media platforms and to e-commerce solutions and so forth, for people who, as I said, they're never going to be done with that thing. you can like I think as I recall, I spent 4 years working on a social media / hybrid e-commerce thing that never went anywhere apart from getting the buy-in from some some of these venture capitalist types of programs. But like we never got to like user bases or like got to like actually getting people interested about the thing, because you're basically competing with an already established platform such as Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc. And so if your system is only useful, only valuable when you're at that scale, you can't actually make the thing take off and get any investors to buy into the thing or scale it in any other way, then you're dead in the water, because you have to remember that these systems take time to build. So you need to think about the short game just as much as the long-term perspective. And so to strengthen that idea, the first thing is to get what is it they call the 3 F's: family, friends, and fools, or something like that, or like early adopters is probably a nicer way of looking at it, where if you can figure out what the minimum thing is that you need to do in order to get an early adopter to think that this is really cool or really useful and actually use it in a meaningful way, that's when you know that you have an idea that you can work with, because now you have a feedback system of some sort. You know how to you know that if you produce something, it is for someone, and that usually helps you a little bit along the way as well, because it feels more meaningful if there's actually somebody who depends on the work that you do. So I really suggest that having a lot of ideas is great, but it's really important that you keep that feedback cycle going, where you go first and foremost, this is my idea, make it concrete enough that you can demo it, or like build something minimalistic so that you can sort of showcase the idea at its core, and put it in the hands of people who are fine with it not being as advanced as something like that is super amazing by today's standards, but it has to just prove to them that this thing is going to solve a problem for them, or it's going to be useful or whatever, right? Because if you can have that feedback cycle, that means that you are making the right decisions. As long as people are seeing value in the thing and it's growing, and it doesn't have to be for money, but if they're actually willing to pay anything for it, you have proof of value now, and that is usually the best way for you to refine an idea. And because when people are willing to give you their time and actually use the thing, trust me when I say this, guys, there are more systems that never got used than there are systems that are actually being used at all. A lot of startups fail without ever having a single meaningful user, apart from like some base set of people that just use the thing once and twice and then it's done. People don't usually understand how difficult it is to get people to use a system whatsoever. So what I want you to take away from this is that committing to a single idea is it's difficult, because it really comes down to what you want to focus on. But my suggestion is the refinement process is usually very simple. Start by creating the idea, the concept, see if somebody seems to think that it's a good idea, and then get yourself to early stage proof of concept as quickly as humanly possible and define the version 1.0. In other words, that version should be the thing that someone would pay you for, or the thing that is going to be the thing that someone's going to use or actually support in some way. And then you put that in the hands of people who are within your target audience as quickly as possible, because the problem with trying to think too big in the beginning is that if you're only going to be able to make this into something that is sort of valuable when it's the size of like Facebook or something like that, you're never going to get there. You're going to run out of steam and money way before you get there, most likely. And it's unlikely that if you're building something without having a feedback cycle of some sort, that you're going to build something that is useful to anybody else. And that's why I tell people that if you want to check if your idea is valid, I like to think of it as testing a boat. I built the boat, and now I put it like a proof of concept, a small boat version of the boat that I'm going to build, put it in water. Is it floating? Cool. Now we can start working on the bigger thing and like make it like you try to grow it iteration by iteration, but you never try to just build this big monstrosity without checking the waters first. So it's really important that if you want to refine ideas, make sure that you have a way to define when a feature has been successful, and people who are actually in the focus group of people you want to target who can tell you, I like this, I did not like this, and then don't just take their word for it. They have to pay you for it, or you have to know how much they're using the thing. Because trust me guys, I've been in a lot of meetings where people have said this is the best thing ever, and then you go and check the analytics and they use the thing once a month. Question is that really a useful feature then? Have a great day.